Hello students, I am Dr. Rajesh, Professor of Anatomy, Sri Lakshmi Narayana Institute of Medical Science, Pondicherry. Today we are going to discuss about the white matter of cerebrum, that is internal capsule. This competency comes under Anatomy 62.3. As you know, the cerebrum, it is made up of gray matter outside, that is the cortex, and the inner core, the white matter. And this white matter, in this white matter, there are many types of fibers like association fibers, commissural fibers, for example, corpus callosum, and projection fibers. Projection fibers are projecting either from the cortex to the brainstem and spinal cord, or from the brainstem and spinal cord to the cerebral cortex. On the way, these projection fibers passing through a narrow gap between the various nuclear group which is present in the subcortical area, that is the lendiform nucleus laterally, the caudate and the thalamic nucleus medially. So the fibers, when it is passing through this narrow gap, they are compact here, and that part is called as the internal capsule. We will see the internal capsule in detail. As I told, it is the projection fiber. Projection fibers, they are corticopetal or corticofugal. Corticopetal means they are coming towards the cerebral cortex. That means they are sensory. And corticofugal means they are going away from the cerebral cortex. That is, it is motor fibers. And afferent or efferent it is called. So where they are present, as I told, they are present in between the thalamus. Here you can see the thalamus here, and that is the caudate nucleus, and here you can see the lendiform nucleus. So between that, the fibers are passing either down or they are coming up. So these fibers, projection fibers, they are lying in between the lendiform nucleus laterally and the thalamus and caudate nucleus medially. So if you see in the next picture, this part of the cortex with the lendiform nucleus is removed, so that we can have a picture like this, where we can see the internal capsule. The anterior limb of the internal capsule is here. We can see from where the lendiform nucleus is removed. And there we can see some fibers are fanning out from the internal capsule. That is the corona radiata. So this corona radiata is the fibers. They are the fibers that are coming into the internal capsule, or they are going out into the cerebral cortex from the internal capsule. So same fibers when they are fan out from this compact region toward the various lobes of the cerebral cortex. Here, frontal cortex, parietal cortex, occipital cortex, and temporal cortex is removed. So these lobes are, the fibers are going to these lobes, and that part which is seen here, that is called as corona radiata. So they are continuation of the corona radiata towards the, if it is considered as the corticofugal fibers, they are called as corona radiata is continuing here as the internal capsule, and they will be coming down here into the midbrain. This area, it comprises the cerebral peduncles or the crus cerebri. And downwards, it is going down into the pons. From the pons, it is going to the medulla, where it forms the pyramid. So they are going down. If it is coming up, they will be coming as the sensory tracts like medial lemniscus and spinal lemniscus. Finally, they will be relaying there in the thalamus, and again through the internal capsule, they will be going through the various part of the cerebral cortex as the corona radiata. So it is continuous above as corona radiata and traced below as the capsular fibers that occupy the crus cerebrae peduncles of the midbrain. In this coronal and transverse sections of the cerebrum, we can see white matter inside. So here, this part comprises the corona radiata. These fibers that comprises the corona radiata, and the part which is going here, that is the internal capsule. That is going down here as the cerebral peduncle, and you can see the substantia nigra here. So this is thalamus medially, and some part of the corpus striatum there you can see that is the lentiform nucleus. In this picture, the transverse section, you can see the internal capsule is a V-shaped structure between the caudate nucleus, thalamus, and the lentiform nucleus. So lentiform nucleus lying laterally, thalamus posteromedially, caudate nucleus anteromedially. So this V-shaped structure, it has an anterior limb, and there is a genu here, and there is a posterior limb. And we can see from this area, some fibers are going backwards towards the occipital lobe that constitute the optic radiation or the retrolentiform part. Similarly, some fibers will be coming to this part from the medial geniculate body that will be called as sublentiform part. So these are the main part of the internal capsule. So here we can see internal capsule is roughly a V-shaped structure with a bend in between, and it has an anterior limb, a genu, and a posterior limb. So this concavity of V is because of the presence of this nucleus, that is the lentiform nucleus. It has two parts. Laterally, putamen is there, and medially, globus pallidus is there. So as I told, the anterior limb lies between the head of the caudate nucleus medially and the anterior part of the lentiform nucleus laterally. And posterior limb is lying between the thalamus medially and the posterior part of the lentiform nucleus laterally. Genu lies between the anterior and posterior limb, this portion. It is present in that concavity bend facing laterally, and two other parts are leprolentiform and sublentiform part, which are lying behind and below the lentiform nucleus. And this picture shows some more details regarding the internal capsule. Like you can see here the medial geniculate body and the lateral geniculate body. From the lateral geniculate body, some fibers are sweeping backwards towards the occipital lobe. So that comprises the optic radiation. So lateral geniculate body is for vision. That means light, L for light vision. Okay. Similarly, medial geniculate body, it is some fibers you can see which is going below the lentiform nucleus towards the auditory cortex here, primary auditory area. That is for auditory fibers. That means M for music. So auditory fibers are going through that. And here in this section, we can see the posterior, the sweeping fibers, which are present in the lateral wall of this. You can see here the ventricularly. This is the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. So it is passing through the lateral wall of the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. That is the optic radiation, which is going to the area 17. That is visual cortex, primary visual cortex. Okay. Similarly, there are some fibers which are going through the same area towards the superior colliculus. They are the fibers which are coming from the area 18 and 19. Okay, for the various visual reflexes. So that is also present in the retrolendiform part. Sublendiform part we cannot see in this picture anyway. That is going to this area of the auditory area, which will be going from the medial geniculate bodies, where here it will be present. Below the lendiform nucleus, it will go to that area. So these are the various part of the internal capsule. Coming to the various types of fibers which are present in the internal capsule. First, we will see the corticofugal fibers. They are the fibers, motor fibers projecting from the cerebral cortex to the spinal cord and brainstem. So here we can see they are mainly corticopondine fibers, pyramidal fibers, and extrapyramidal fibers. Among the corticopondine fibers, there are fibers projecting from the various lobes like frontopondine, paratopondine, occipito. From all the four lobes of the cerebral cortex, fibers are projecting to the pons, and from there to the opposite cerebellar cortex. Okay, so major part of these fibers, they are present in the anterior limb, genu, and posterior limb. They are the frontopondine fibers, which we can see here in this red color areas. Okay, they are the frontopondine fibers. They are present in all the anterior limb, genu, and posterior limb. So you can see that red color fibers, which are the frontopondine fibers. And when it is coming to the other two lobes, paratopondine and occipitopondine, they are present in the retrolendiform part. Here, the retrolendiform part, corticofugal fibers are present. Corticofugal fibers means from the cortex to the lower brainstem or spinal cord. So here it is going to the pons, so it is called occipitopondine and paratopondine. They are projecting through the retrolendiform part from the occipital lobe and the parietal lobe. They are projecting to the pons through the retrolendiform part. Similarly, through the sublendiform part, temporopondine fibers are projecting to the pons. Okay, so that is about the pondine fibers. Now coming to the pyramidal fibers, they are mainly present in the genu and the posterior limb. In this genu, you can see the yellow color fibers, and here also in posterior limb there are some fibers. They are the corticonuclear fibers and the corticospinal fibers. So in this genu, what is present, that is the corticonuclear fibers or the corticobulbar fibers. They will be controlling the various cranial nuclei, which are responsible for the movement of the skeletal muscles of the head and neck area, eyeball, tongue, palate, etc. Okay, so corticospinal fibers, you know that they will be mainly the pyramidal tract is formed by these corticospinal fibers. They forms the pyramid there in the medulla. They comprises this yellow color fibers present in this posterior limb. And extrapyramidal fibers, they are present here. That is the extrapyramidal fibers. These extrapyramidal fibers are projecting to the subcortical nuclei like red nucleus, corpus striatum, and substantia nigra. That is why it is called corticorubral, corticostriate, and corticonigral fibers. So that also present along with the pyramidal fibers in the posterior limb of the internal capsule. And these fibers, the corticospinal as well as corticonuclear fibers, they are arranged in a somatotopic manner. That means there is a specialized arrangement there in the corticofugal fibers or the corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers. So if you see here, the corticonuclear or corticobulbar fibers, which are responsible for the movement of the skeletal muscles of the head and neck area, like extraocular muscles, pharyngeal and laryngeal muscles, palatal muscles, muscles of mastication, tongue muscles, and facial muscles, including the neck muscles. All these are the fibers which are responsible to regulate these muscles are passing through the genu area, that is the corticonuclear fibers. Similarly, in the posterior limb, so from here onwards, it is posterior limb. And in the posterior limb, what are the fibers present? They are responsible to regulate the upper limb first, then it is coming to the trunk, then it is coming to the lower limb, and finally it is coming to the bladder and rectum. So in such a way it is arranged. What is the importance of this? If you know the position of the fibers, and if a patient is suffering from a lesion of the internal capsule, and with the symptom you can identify where exactly the lesion is present in the internal capsule and which artery is responsible for that. Coming to the ascending fibers, the sensory fibers. As you know, there are in the spinal cord, there are various sensory pathway, mainly the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway and the spinal lemniscus, the anterolateral spinal lemniscus pathway. Okay, so all these sensations are carried through the first order neurons which are present in the dorsal root ganglia, and they are either projecting directly as dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway to the brainstem, or they will be crossing and projecting to the thalamus as spinal lemniscus. Finally, all that will be coming to the thalamus, and from the thalamus it will be projecting to the cerebral cortex through various radiations like this. Mainly, the superior thalamic radiation and anterior thalamic radiations are the somatosensory projections to the cerebral cortex. In the thalamus, there are some nuclei, like anterior group is there, then there is a medial and lateral, again that will be divided into ventral and dorsal. So from the anterior as well as from the dorsomedial nucleus, the fibers are projecting to the frontal lobe, prefrontal lobe, as the anterior thalamic radiations. Okay, so these fibers, mainly the sensory fibers, which are going to the prefrontal and frontal cortex, that is the anterior thalamic radiation. And these fibers will be present in the anterior limb. Here you can see the anterior limb of the internal capsule, that is the anterior thalamic radiation. And some fibers which are present in the genu as well as the posterior limb, that will be this superior thalamic radiation. Superior thalamic radiation fibers are projecting from the ventral tire nucleus of the thalamus. Thalamus, it has anterior and medial as well as lateral, and that again it is divided into dorsal and ventral nucleus. So from the ventral tire nucleus, ventral anterior, ventral intermediate or lateral and posterior, these fibers are projecting towards the various cerebral cortical areas like area 6, 4, 3, 1, 2, etc. And they are functionally, they are somatosensory fibers. Coming to the posterior thalamic radiation, as I told you before, there is a posterior optic radiation and auditory radiation. So this is projecting from the lateral geniculate body, and this is projecting from the medial geniculate body. So this mainly the posterior thalamic radiation, it comprises optic radiation fibers coming from the lateral geniculate body. They are going to the primary visual cortex. Similarly, this will be going to the primary auditory cortex from the medial geniculate body. So all the fibers which are corticofugal and corticopetal fibers are summarized here. You can see anterior limb. Through the anterior limb, genu and posterior limb, the frontopontine fibers are passing mainly. Along with that, in the genu as well as the posterior limb, there are corticonuclear and corticospinal fibers are also present. And what are the sensory fibers? In all the three areas, the thalamic radiations are present as anterior thalamic radiation, superior thalamic radiation. Superior thalamic radiation is present in the genu as well as the posterior limb. When it is coming to retrolentiform part, the corticofugal fibers are paretopontine and occipitopontine fibers, and the corticopetal fibers are the optic radiation, posterior thalamic radiation. And when it is coming to sublentiform part, the fibers are paretopontine and temporopontine fibers, and the corticopetal fibers are the inferior thalamic radiation. In addition to these fibers which I mentioned, there are some other fibers present in the anterior limb, especially there are some fibers which are interconnecting the caudate nucleus and putamen, which are present in the anterior limb of the internal capsule, which is responsible for the processing of information, so like emotions, cognition, decision making, and all. If there is a lesion for these fibers, it may result in the various psychiatric problems like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and obsessive compulsive disorder. In the genu, there are the fibers which are present, mainly the corticonuclear and corticospinal fibers, a small part of the corticospinal fibers, which are projecting from the primary motor area, premotor area, and all. Along with that, there are some corticoreticular fibers are also present in the genu of the internal capsule. And coming to the posterior limb, the fibers which I mentioned there, like major part of it is comprising the frontopontine fibers as well as the superior thalamic radiation. But main important fibers, the pyramidal fibers, are present in the posterior limb of the internal capsule, which is arranged somatotopically there. Along with that, extrapyramidal fibers are also present there. Retrolentiform segment, as I told you, it is comprising the optic radiation, which are projecting to the areas like primary visual area, area 70. It also comprises posterior thalamic radiation extending from the pulvinar of the thalamus to the area 18, 19, and 39, 40. And there are corticofugal fibers here also present, like paretopontine and occipitopontine. And mainly this corticofugal fibers 18, 19 is going to the superior colliculus of the midbrain, where it is associated with the visual reflexes. And sublenticular segment of the internal capsule, there are corticofugal and corticopetal fibers. Corticopetal fiber is mainly coming from the medial geniculate body to the auditory cortex, primary auditory area 41, 42, which is called as the gyrus Hessel. And there are corticofugal fibers. They are the temporopontine and the paretopontine fibers. There are also some fibers which are projecting from the thalamus to the temporal lobe, and from the temporal lobe to the thalamus, which are called as the thalamotemporal and the temporothalamic fibers. So all these fibers are present in the sublentiform part of the internal capsule. Coming to the blood supply of the internal capsule is supplied by two systems of blood vessels. One is internal carotid artery and the other is basilar artery, which is formed by the fusion of the fourth part of the vertebral artery. So the internal carotid artery, through its branches like anterior cerebral, middle cerebral, and anterior choroid artery, it is supplying the internal capsule. And the basilar artery, this branch, the posterior cerebral artery, is supplying the internal capsule. So we can summarize the blood supply of the internal capsule like this. There are three sets of arteries supplying the anterior limb. There are three sets of arteries supplying the genu. There are three sets of arteries supplying the posterior limb. So what are the three sets of arteries supplying the anterior limb? That is the striate branch of the anterior cerebral artery, that is medial striate branch. Then recurrent branch of the anterior cerebral artery. It has a recurrent course going backwards. That is why it is called recurrent branch of the anterior cerebral artery, and it is also called as the artery of Hubner. And the other branch which is supplying the anterior limb of the internal capsule is coming from the middle cerebral artery, and that artery is famous for hemorrhage. So it is called as Charcot's artery of cerebral hemorrhage. Okay, so these are the three sets of arteries supplying the anterior limb. Now the genu is supplied by again the Hubner's artery, that is the recurrent branch of the anterior cerebral artery. Then this Charcot's artery from the middle cerebral artery, and a few direct branch from the internal carotid artery will be supplying the genu of the internal capsule. The posterior limb of the internal capsule also supplied by three sets of artery. Again, the middle cerebral artery is supplying the posterior limb. Then there is a branch from the internal carotid artery which is going backwards. That is called the anterior choroid artery. And one more artery supplying, that is from the posterior cerebral artery, which is called the posterolateral branch of the posterior cerebral artery. So these are the three sets of arteries which are present supplying the posterior limb of the internal capsule. Then the sublendiform part is supplied by two sets of artery. One is the anterior choroid artery, which is supplying the posterior limb as well as the sublendiform part, and the posterior cerebral artery. Here also you can see posterior cerebral artery supplying. The last part, the retrolendiform part, is supplied by only the posterolateral branch of the posterior cerebral artery. So this is about the blood supply. So if you go through this, you can see here there are three sets of artery from the anterior cerebral artery to supply the anterior limb. There is a recurrent artery of Hubner which is supplying both the anterior limb and the genu. And from the middle cerebral, one branch to the anterior limb. So three branches like that. Again, same recurrent artery of Hubner is supplying the genu. Middle cerebral artery supplying the genu. Direct branch from the internal carotid artery supplying the genu. So that is the three branches. That are the three branches supplying the genu. And when it is coming to the posterior limb, there is a branch here. You can see the anterior choroidal artery. This anterior choroidal artery will be giving a branch. Middle cerebral artery will be giving a branch. And posterior cerebral artery also will be giving a branch. So these are the three arteries supplying the posterior limb. Sublendiform part will be supplied by both the anterior choroidal branch as well as the posterior cerebral artery. Posterior cerebral artery is the only supplying the. This is the blood supply of internal capsule. If you know the blood supply, you can easily tell what is the blood vessel which is responsible for the lesion. From the signs of the lesion, you can easily tell which blood vessel is involved in the lesion. So these blood vessels are prone for hemorrhage and thrombosis. You can see these arteries, mainly the lateral lendiculostriate arteries, they are perforating the lendiform nucleus and reaching the internal capsule. So they are prone for both thrombosis and hemorrhage. And this is the recurrent artery of Hubner that is also reaching the internal capsule by recurrent course through the lendiform nucleus. It is reaching. And this is in this picture what is present. It is a original corrosion cast picture of the blood vessels only. You can make out how the artery is present there, and they are all very thin, and it has a very narrow lumen. They can easily rupture or get occluded by thrombus. Here you can see a picture of the hypertensive hemorrhage there in this area of the basal ganglia, where the basal ganglia as well as the internal capsule is involved there. So such ischemic strokes secondary to blockage of the perforating arteries are called as the lacunar strokes. So this internal capsule, it is prone for cerebrovascular accidents because of the perforating arteries that supply the region are predisposed to occlusion or rupture of the because of their smaller diameter. And the mechanism of this lacunar stroke include lipohyalinosis of the perforating blood vessels, atherosclerosis of the large trunk blood vessels that supply these perforators like middle cerebral artery, and embolic occlusion. So there are three reasons for the lacunar stroke. And this hallmark of this lipohyalinosis is vessel walls thickening, leading to reduction in the luminal diameter. So already they are thin and narrow. So these three factors will be leading to the damage of these blood vessels. So suppose the anterior cerebral artery is involved in the occlusion or hemorrhage, you can see that it will be resulting in a hemiparesis, means weakness of the opposite half of the body, or even hemiplegia, including the bladder wall dysfunction will be there. Okay, so artery of Hubner, you have to think about the artery of Hubner when you are thinking about anterior cerebral artery. It is supplying the anterior limb as well as the genu of the internal capsule. Now, when it is coming to the middle cerebral artery, opposite again hemiparesis with the opposite half of the body sensory loss is there because of the involvement of the superior thalamic radiations, and because middle cerebral artery, it is present and it is supplying all the three main part of the internal capsule, anterior limb, posterior limb, and genu. So if the dominant lobe is involved, then the patient will be suffering from aphasia also, because they won't be able to name the objects. Similarly, posterior cerebral artery, posterior cerebral artery supplying the sublendiform part as well as the retrolendiform part. Retrolendiform part is involved. If it is involved, then patient will be suffering from hemianopia. Similarly, there are posterior limb is also supplied by the posterior cerebral artery. That is why there is hemisensory loss is there in the patient if the posterior cerebral artery is involved in such lesions. So especially the Hubner artery, what is written here, the hypoglossal paralysis because of the involvement of the fibers which are responsible for the, so these fibers, the fibers which are the corticonuclear fibers which are responsible for the control of tongue muscles are involved in suppose the thrombosis of the Hubner artery is there, and there will be contralateral spastic paralysis of the upper limb and face because they are nearby. So Hubner's artery supplying anterior limb as well as the upper limb fibers are also involved. Now, when it is coming to the thrombosis of the anterior choroidal artery, mainly the anterior choroidal artery supplying the posterior limb. Okay, so that is why hemianesthesia, hemianopia, and hyperacusis because it is supplying the sublendiform part. So thank you for listening.